There we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I have my reoccurring guest in the building, Deacon Sean Rollins in the building.
Sir.
So, oh, Deborah in the building. Great morning to you.
Good morning, Deborah.
So make sure you share. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. We may have some other brothers stroll in, but if it's just us, we just gonna make it work, and we're gonna have some fun discussing trigger words today. So as always, make sure you share. Make sure you tag somebody if you're in Facebook, and if you're in YouTube, make sure you give a thumbs up. Give us some comments. Let us know you're in the building. Great morning to you, Lisa. Great morning to you, Cheryl. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Mama McCory in the building. Great morning to you. So let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Bam, bam. And bam.
But don't be the meal. You know when you said that? Yeah, don't be the meal.
Experience is the best teacher, but truth is the Holy Spirit is the best teacher.
If you can find the straightest path to the queen that you're supposed to be with, I believe in, and she finds her straightest path to you, and I think it gets away from all those, the skeletons in the closet.
We aim for the wrong things.
Right.
We aim to make our children a good husband. We aim to make our children good wives or successful businessmen or success, whatever. Right. The aim is wrong.
Trending is not happening without curiosity. So what's driving curiosity? You understand? People that are successful, people that are effective in life are people with priorities.
Yes, indeed. Priorities. All right. So thank you guys again for rocking with us and hanging every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All my consistent folk, Lisa, Mama McCory, Cheryl in the building. I appreciate you guys. And if you've been in here, if you've just been hanging in the background, give me a hey, give me a what's up so we know who you are. If you've been watching us consistently for a while, we'd like to know who you are. Get in the comment section. Just say hey. You don't have to say anything else. Just give us a thumbs up so we know you're there. And I definitely appreciate that. So today, on this edition of Brothers of Legacy, we are talking about trigger words. And Dave in the building. Good morning, my brother. Good morning. It's been a minute. So we're talking about trigger. I mean, unless you've been in the background not saying much, then I guess it's not really been a minute. You've just been chilling in the back. So today we're talking about trigger words. What up, GA? Great morning to you. All right. So I got a few words that I kind of was jotting down, like some of the words that you hear, and it's mostly in the political realm, and it's all designed to kind of get a reaction out of you, and generally to work to get your mindset to go a certain way, of course, or to slide something in. What is it? What was the term? For, instead of saying downsizing, they say restructuring.
Yeah.
so you walk away from it. Oh, they're just restructuring. It's okay. It's all good. It's just restructuring. Till you get that pink slip. You're like, wait, what? What happened?
What they call it? Trimming the fat.
So you're trimming the fat, right. And they try to make you feel better if you're a shareholder. Yes, we're trimming the fat so shareholders can be straight. You're like, oh yeah, you remember you might be part of that fat. So we're gonna talk. I'm gonna throw a word out there, and you let me know what's like one of the first things that you think about. And I'm sure you listen to radio, talk radio, listen to certain things, and you hear certain words or terms. So the first one is when you hear the word small biz or small business, what do you think of?
When I hear small biz, the first thing I'm thinking of is black owned.
Okay.
I guess that's because the majority of small business, from what I see, are black owned.
Right.
Or businesses that the only way you know about them is because you've driven by them or word of mouth. They're not really well known.
Right.
Those are the ones I usually think of.
Okay.
Word of mouth ones, drive by them. Yeah, that's about all I can think of.
Because I know for me, because I used to think the same thing, and I would feel like those are small business, like mom and pop stores and things of that
Right.
nature. But hearing like the definition, it's almost like those that are like making $500,000. These are considered small business. And you just like, really, like you always think the ones that if they had to close for a week, they would be out of business. Kind of small, those are small businesses for me. But you realize what we consider small businesses aren't really the true definition. At least where they start, where they consider small business. So all right, this one is a hot one right here. Make America great again.
That always makes me think, okay, so when you say make America great again, when was America great the first time?
Whoa. Right.
So what period of time are you talking about? And then why is it not as great as it was then? What are your reasons for saying again? So
right.
If it was great at one time, what made it great? And then what made it lose its greatness for you to say great again? Those are the things I think about when I hear that.
Wow. Yeah, it's me. I think the same thing as well. Especially when I first heard the slogan, it's like, where are we going? I think like, okay, maybe the 90s, but anything lower, past that is like, it's not really a great time for us, and even for, others as well. But it's like, it's that slogan is just so hard to chew. And I don't even see, like, I can understand someone that looks like us being a supporter of the one that created the slogan, but I can't imagine. I don't know why they could rock the hat like when, like, I want to ask you, like, when was it great? So
yeah. And then when you say America, who are you talking about? Are you talking about America the country? Are you talking about America the white folks? What is America?
Right. Yeah. So and it's funny, like, talking about it, it's like maybe that was like the beginning of his divisive strategy in a sense. Just like this, let me pump this out. If I get those folks on this side that agree, and then those folks on the other side that don't agree. So it's kind of like a subliminal. All right. So my next one, what's the first image you see when you hear the word single mother?
Single mother, usually a black woman. You really don't hear too often about white single women. Just one that does, I guess you say, does every role. She's the provider. She does what she needs to do to survive for her and for her kids.
All right.
Most of the time, you always think it's more than one child when you hear single mother.
Right. Yeah, right. Got a bunch of kids. So everybody that's on and you're listening, put up in the comments when I throw a word out there. What do you think? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear these trigger words? So our first was small biz, and we talked about America, make America great again, and then we talked about single mother. Unfortunately, a lot of times, for me, you see like a black, and like you said, generally you don't think about white, you think about a black single mother. You don't. And I guess my excuse because I'm black, but I feel like it's a lot of people would have the same thought process, because it's always pushed out there. Whenever you see a woman, a black woman with their child, my question is like, do you think they're married? Do you think they have a dad at home? I think it's such a perception a lot of times that's been pushed in society for a long time. There's always, the black dads are never around, and all kinds of jokes. But we know that, and it's like, man, how did this become such a truth when it's not?
So, perception, like you say.
So that's crazy. So my next one. So what's your image when you hear someone say low income?
Low income. I'm usually thinking if they are getting an income, it's check to check. Like they are surviving. Like if they miss a check, they might not make it.
Right.
You know, you miss that check, it might be a wrap. Also, I'm thinking. Sometimes you always think that you need support. Like she said, poor, struggling. They say the struggle is real.
Right.
But yeah, just those pictures, images. It's wondering where the next extra money is gonna come from, or if I need to call a company to see if they can extend my bill. My due date.
Right.
So
Okay. All right. If as a visual, I always think about like the projects. So I always think about a rough area, low income, just a guy in NYC. He's a low income, uneducated, inner city or rural area. Right. That's the thought process, and that especially uneducated may not necessarily be true because unfortunately people fall into rough spots or rough patches, and and unfortunately, if I could have a doctorate, if I get a felony, then that slims, that slims a lot of opportunities. Like, hey man, you are definitely qualified, but that fight you had 2 years ago that you didn't even cause, has now kept you out of this level of society. All right, we got another guest in the building. Let's get him on. Pastor McCory in the building.
Sir. How you doing?
Indeed.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yes, indeed. So today we're talking about trigger words. And basically we're on the sense of what do you think about when you hear certain words? So the last word I used was low income. Low income. What do you think about, or what do you see when you hear the word low income?
When I hear the word or the phrase low income,
yes,
I see that. I see an impoverished environment, an impoverished neighborhood, an impoverished community.
Gotcha. Okay. So and I always hear that word. It's always funny. Like they always kind of lump it together. They always say like low income and minorities are affected, and you hear it so much. Or low income blacks and minorities are affected. And sometimes when you hear words lumped together so much, I think I feel like it pushes a visual of the low income are the minorities and the blacks. When you constantly, I feel like it creates a certain perception or visual.
I think that only happens to people who have not seen it in real life. If you've lived life in somewhat of a bubble, privileged. Because growing up in Illinois, small town in Illinois, if you were wealthy in my town, it didn't really stand out because everybody kind of did the same thing. There were no mansions. So even if you were wealthy, we couldn't really see it. You may have a nicer house, but everybody pretty much went to the same places. All the children hung out in the same places. There wasn't anything grand unless you went up to Chicago. Right. And so all the children went to the same type of schools.
Right.
Even if you were in a Catholic school, you still lived in the same neighborhood with some of the children that went to public school. Right. So there was no real difference there. So I think that for me, you couldn't tell who was wealthy and who wasn't. But also another experience I had was, when you grew up in a diverse environment, and the demographics, the demographics are what they are for everybody within that zip code. Right. So I had white neighbors. If you live on my block, your income wasn't much different than my family's income.
Wow.
Right. And we didn't have much. So
hey, Jefferoni.
But also working in a non-for-profit back in the 90s. I worked for an economic development corporation, part of a church, AME Church.
Yes.
We had a non-for-profit staffing agency. And I'll tell you, man, I was trying to help as many folks that did not look like me as I was the people that look like me.
Okay.
There was no, we weren't overwhelmingly black. We weren't overwhelmingly white. I saw as many white people as I saw black people that were unemployed, that were struggling, trying to make ends meet and all of that stuff. And our office was in South Central.
Wow. Okay.
I got a good question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on this low income, but most people think about uneducated.
Right.
All right. So when you do become educated, you go to college. Why does college already put you in debt for you to get further ahead? So to me, that's part of your low income right there. You get
paying that loan off, right?
Yeah, but you already in the hole before you come out the hole.
Wow. That is something.
And then I know another thing is when people look at you, a lot of times they look at what you have versus what you are. So, for instance, let's say you see somebody driving a Honda versus a Lexus.
Right.
I'm the same person. It might have been the same, but that new me, man, I drove a Honda till the wheels fell off. Literally.
Right.
I remember that.
Yes.
I didn't know why he was still driving that Honda.
Probably would have still had it. It was still running good.
I think the radio and the combination of the radio and the golf clubs were worth more than the car.
I had that one.
That's a good freestyle, literally. Oh man. All right. McNair had a question. He said, is there a difference between low income and poverty? Is there a difference?
I think so. I think there's a different definition. I think you have to. Oh, look, your wife checked in, literally, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to look at the. I think you have to look at the definition between the two, because you can have low income and still be making it and have all your needs met just on a low income level. Right. So I think there's a difference between low income and poverty. I mean, that's just me. I think you'd have to look up the definition, because for me, low income does not necessarily mean that I'm poor.
Right. I just don't earn
because
a lot.
It's relative.
Right.
So that's a great question. McNair. But I would say that you can be low income but not be considered poor.
Right. I mean, that's kind of how I was thinking about it too.
Yeah, poverty kind of gives a negative sense to it, like at the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And and look, Dr. Rollins, poverty can be a mindset. I like that. I think poor is a mindset.
Right. I think poverty mindset. Yeah. You're right. Because it's what you do, when you get your income that sets the level of life that you live, Right. Because we all know if you live high above it, then, you'll struggle, to survive, if you can't afford what you got coming in. So yeah, you're right. It is
because low income, I can still afford my lifestyle if I know how to budget, even on a low income, and not be considered poor. Right.
Low income, I can still be happy. Right. I can be straight.
Still have your needs met, because you can be poor and still be happy. But I mean, I'm talking about still having all of your needs met.
Right.
Low income people take vacations.
Right.
Because they know how to budget.
Right.
So I think there's a difference between low income and poverty stricken.
Right.
Because to me, poverty is not having enough to sustain.
Right. The basics and just
poor. Yeah.
So Dave said, my immediate family was always low income, but there was plenty of family support, hand-me-downs when we needed it. Poverty seemed more hopeless, right? To me, for a longer duration. There's a definition of the word, and there is our perception of it, right? The point is examining the biases, right? And what these words mean to us. Poverty sounds like hopeless, right? Indeed. All right. So my next question, my next word is, hold on. What do you think about when you hear the word states' rights? States' rights.
States' rights.
Yeah.
You mean the rights of a state?
Yes.
Sound like something that would be coming from the governor of the state, mandated laws. I don't know. I guess it would just be more individual from the governor of each state versus what the president is saying to the country as a whole. That's the thing I think of. I guess another one would probably be local rules. Right. So for me, I put it in golf terms where you have USGA rules, which is governing all of golf, and then states' right would be like the course that you're playing at. Their local rules. Their local rules overrule what all other things do.
Gotcha. What about you?
Yeah, I somewhat agree.
Okay.
With that one, because I'm thinking your rights as an individual within your state.
Right.
But I don't know.
So I know
to me it's the same,
right?
Federally as it is locally,
right?
Because state is federal,
right?
So whatever your state rights are, they should match federal,
right?
Local states versus federal, but state level is federal,
right? So in the context of how I'm putting it, because Jeff Roney can kind of see, you know how like the policies or some of the foundational stuff, like with Republicans, they're more smaller government, states' rights, whereas like Democrats sometimes is more federal, and they don't take away states' rights, but it's just that's the narrative I've heard like pushed. So like having the state more make decisions. As opposed to the federal government make decisions, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like you went this whole COVID thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of
each state overruling what the majority does. It's more
right.
I guess you say the federal would come secondary to what the state says.
Right.
I need to go brush up on my legislative and executive and judicial.
Said I'm a truck driver, so I'm thinking speed limits. Also, the state's rights to not fix those potholes. I got you. Dr. Rollins said one of the most frustrating things for me. You can have a federal law, but if the state doesn't adapt it, then it's no benefit. All politics are local. True.
Yeah.
So states' rights can overrule federal. Let's see. He said, like, I missed that one. Like marijuana law is specific to your state.
Right. You can smoke weed in California, but you can't smoke weed in. Do we have it in Georgia?
No. Medical. You got to have a
medical.
I think medical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can't even. I think you got to be careful traveling over the line. Getting on federal highways. I think that those things like that. And I think it was a debate about the airport too. Like, can you bring it on the airport? Is that federal or is that state? So that's been a debate. All right. So when you hear, let's get a good one. Inmate. What's your first thought or what's your visual?
Someone's incarcerated behind bars, no freedom.
Airport is federal, right? Okay. That was too easy. All right.
That's a simple one.
So when you hear immigrant, who do you think of?
Who do you think of?
Yeah, who?
You mean one that has migrated from another country?
Would you think about a particular group, or would you say it's more broad for yourself? So Jeff Roney says Hispanics.
Yeah, I
overcame that a long time ago. I
think you said
not Indians.
The reality is when you understand the definition of the word,
right,
you're less stereotypical,
right.
I think some of these stereotypes are intentional. I mean, people talk about this implicit bias that people have.
Yes.
Some of it I think is explicit. You know, because everybody you think, Dr. Rollins, everybody's comes from somewhere. When you peel that onion back, how many of us actually come from here? Now, I personally, I say I'm American because I was born and raised here. Right. So was my mother. So was my father. So was my grandmother. You know, I can't go far enough back to figure out, you know, what corner of Africa I came from. I don't have any problem with that. But I personally, you know, people may not like this, but the reality is all I know is America.
Right.
That's all I know. Right. Love it or hate it, that's all I know. So I'm from here. Right. Now, I love my history. I love all of that kind of stuff. When I got out of the military, there was some young person doing a college paper, and he was studying the mindset of people that had been in combat versus people that had never been in combat but were veterans.
Okay.
And I had a firefight when I was in Korea. In my 201 file, as far as the military is concerned, I was a combat veteran.
Okay.
But I wasn't in the Middle East when all that stuff jumped up. I had already gotten out of the military. But because I had that record of that firefight in my 201 file, I was considered a combat veteran.
Okay.
So this college student came, I was working at the church in LA, and he came and asked me, he said, listen, he started asking me a bunch of series of questions, interviewed me. And he said, do you consider yourself an American that's African, or do you consider yourself African American? And I said, I'm an American.
Right.
You know, and he said, interesting. And I said, why is that interesting? He said, because you have combat in your military experience, you consider yourself American. He said, what I've found out is that over 90% of the men that I interview that have actually been in combat say they're American.
Wow.
People who have not been in combat say they're African American.
Wow.
I never, you don't think about it. He told me.
Right.
But my reasons for feeling the way that I feel were not because of combat, not because I fought for my country. At least I didn't think so.
Right.
You know, but I realized I never really put any thought to it as I was growing up. It was just my mindset that I'm just an American.
Right.
You know, and I thought that was interesting. So this whole thing with African American, we don't call white people European American.
True. That's true.
So why do we have to be referred to as African American? They put that in there intentionally to separate us, from our heritage. It's just the truth. And so people may not like it, but that's my take.
I mean, I grew up, unfortunately I grew up in a state of thinking in more of a separate way. My whole growing up was more. He said I'm Jewish, but I don't consider myself from Israel. Israelite, right? I think I said it right. It probably I got it. Israelite. I grew up all black, black high school, black college. I didn't encounter like consistent whites, anybody, honestly, until I started working. And keeping it real because of, media, I guess, and things I've listened to, I had to step away from I guess kind of like the racist thinking in a sense. Whereas, I didn't trust white people.
What do you mean when you said to step away from racist?
Let me change that. Just to kind of change my mindset. I didn't trust white people, period. From the jump. It's just, okay. I work for them, but I was like, hey, I don't trust them. Just off the back, so because my exposure was little to none. Like I had some like white teachers, probably more Jewish teachers than anything because of it being in New York. And hold on, let me take care of this real quick. All right, there you go. There we go with the nonsense. So I think my exposure was so limited. It narrowed my view, so for me, I had the African American, thinking, but that is true though. It's designed to kind of keep us separate in a sense. And it's hard to get out of that when you're constantly hearing it, to realize because I've been going through that metamorphosis too. Like I'm an American, like, and I had the same thought too. I was like, yeah, we don't call them Euro Americans, they're just Americans, and I guess if there's a description, if someone clunk you in the head, you like, yeah, there's a white guy or a black guy, like I need to describe who just hit me in my head, and I need the police to catch him. But outside of that, yeah, we just Americans, and I think maybe we need to push that movement, like the American agenda, just you're American.
Like you said, you was kind of narrowed in. Me, I was wide because my father actually was in the military. He did 20 years of service, so therefore I did not want to do any military whatsoever. Right. But so we traveled. As far as outside the U.S., we did Germany 2 times. So I got to see a lot of outside of my race, which I guess at that point, at a younger age, it doesn't really bother you because that's, that was the norm, seeing everything.
Right. Right.
Like you said you was more narrow. I was more wide.
Nice. Yeah, my dad tried to get me in the military. Yeah, no.
The crazy thing is, hindsight, you look back and it's like, man, I could have been retired by now.
All right. Right. School paid for. I missed all that. I should have talked to Sergeant Best. I'll never forget it. That dude. I don't even know how he had all my information. That dude chased me down my whole senior year. He showed up like a recruiter, just everywhere. So this is a good question. So he says, so why is African and Afro-American so popular and accepted? He said, I hear it all the time.
Why is African or Afro-American so popular and accepted? I hear it all the time. Because it became a sense of pride.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, African-American, but Afro-American was a sense of pride.
Right.
From the 60s, 70s. African American is the label that we receive from the government.
Right.
So
because when I hear the word blacks, I think back to, like you were saying, back in the 60s, in earlier times where it was no blacks allowed. So it's kind of the opposite, where Afro-American is like, okay, we done moved up versus the segregated time.
Afro-American was the pick with the fist on it.
Right.
Yeah, that was a movement.
Right.
That was a movement. I always felt like there were different worlds for white Americans and black Americans. Well, yeah, I came up with the mindset that I'm not a color. Black is a color, and my skin, like, this is black. I'm not this color.
Right.
So I feel like we were forced to use this whole thing. Well, I'm a black man. I get all of that. Black is beautiful. We had to find a way to take pride in the category that we were placed in.
Right.
That's just my honest feeling.
That's true. And I mean,
I'm a culture, not color.
Right. I think it's trying to, I guess it's like we couldn't ignore what was happening, so we had to find a way to find pride in who we were, and not down ourselves because we didn't look like somebody else. I feel like that's what sustained the separatism, and and then there were situations where, you was the black dude in the white group and you felt different, you felt, because sometimes your culture is different, you know. So I think it still exists, but we try to bring, and I think if everyone here Americans enough, then we can start breaking down the color barrier and start, relating to each other as Americans. And I I don't like Jeff Roney, not because he's white, but I just don't like Jeff Roney because of his character. Like just let's find real reasons to not like somebody. Like, I don't like him because of I don't like his music or something crazy. But yeah, it's great. So it's not really something that Black population is in agreement with. I mean, the thing is, we're in agreement that things that have happened to us have affected us as far as Black Americans. So it's like and when things happen, that's where separation begins. And we start discussing it as separate because there's still an unequal balance. So in context of description of what's going on, yeah, the language will continue because there's still an unequal balance. When we can lessen that or prayerfully eradicate it on a high level, which is generally our issue with the police, because it's an organized government organization that we're having the biggest problem with. We don't trip. We're not really tripping about like the Klan like that. We're more or less tripping about the organized government actions that happen against us. Individuals, groups, is always going to be groups, and people that don't like you for whatever. We're not. It's the organized government action that we have issue with, like the housing laws and all that stuff that happened back in the day, the redlining. That's the things that we have issue. We take issue with laws that are focused on what we do. Back in the day, what was it like? With cocaine get you some years, crack get you more years. You're like, how's that even equal? Though it's all wrong, but it's like, certain things are just not helpful. And I'm trying to think of that, what Pastor always says. I can't, it'll come in my mind.
Just a guy in NYC, he says, in the pastor identifying as American, prescribed to American. I'm not sure I know what that means.
And the pastor identify as I
need some more clarity.
Yeah. It's out of context, Terry.
Yeah. I hate when my wife leaves without a
Oh man. I'll say culturally.
Culturally, you're saying culturally I'm American?
You're American. Okay. Let's see. He said I never. We're gonna decipher what you're saying, my brother. I know it's unfortunately when you're in comments. I never consider myself Euro American or Jewish American. I'm just American, blue collar, maybe. Gotcha. This is perspective. Most white people are not aware of the feelings of inequalities.
Yeah.
True. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes, Jeff Aroni, I feel like it doesn't take much effort
to see
to understand it.
Right.
And so for me, I feel like it's so much. It requires too much work to get white people to understand.
Right.
It shouldn't be that hard. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be that hard.
Right.
I constantly resist the term African American when you never hear British. Thank you, Dwayne.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. I recall having a filter my thoughts for white public consumption.
Right. Turn it on and turn it off. Right. African American or Afro American, the same culture. Differentiate. No, it's not the same.
Mm.
It's not the same because I feel like, when Afro American was a term, it was more of a movement.
Had an agenda to it.
Right.
Okay.
So
he said that's if it's friends ever African American is what I hear on the news and read in the paper constantly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see. This is something we need to hear right. Hey, let's see. I'm going through my comments. I know there's a lot said. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Boom. My bad. That's correct, Pastor. It's absolutely not hard at all. Not aware or don't acknowledge. Woo. not aware or don't acknowledge. Let's see, 100% agree. It's so clear how can they not know? Yeah. I mean, especially at this point, especially at this point, you're gonna see a side talk about it, and then you got to objectionably, step back and look at what's being thrown in front of you. I think sometimes, like we talked about this week, who's influencing you, because if you're constantly inundated with one side, then you'll never understand the other side. You'll if you're always accepting of one person's narrative of what they see, of what is true, then it's hard to understand what's really going on.
Got a question.
Yeah.
So let's say how we see the news go on, like police brutality and all that. So let's say, what age do you say kids kind of understand, not necessarily what all is going on, but they can see what's going on? So what, 5, 6, 7,
Right.
So around that age. So we kind of know how we would explain to our children if they ask what happened in this scenario. Mm-hmm. How do white people explain to their children? I want to know kind of how they explain what's going on and why it happened. That's what I want to know. We know our concept of what happened. How do they explain it? I just want to know what's their mindset. I know we can't answer that, but I just
give you all a chance. You like to get it on that
because children are going to ask what they see.
Right.
They don't hold nothing. They don't put no sugar on it. They just say what they want to say.
Right. Let y'all marinate on that one, and then we're gonna switch over to YouTube. We're gonna switch over, but that's a question if some of my peoples that are raising that are white. If you like to answer that, I would definitely wait if you have a way of describing or getting in on that. But I appreciate you guys rocking with us. We are rocking with the Brothers of Legacy. We come on every single morning, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I appreciate you guys hanging and being with us all week. And Jeff Ferroni chimed in. Bam! I've always brought my kids up to be accepting of all people, no boundaries, color, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Romello says, "No, man, no YouTube, bro. You don't have YouTube, Jeff? I mean, Romello?
Everybody got YouTube. Come on.
It comes with the phone.
Right.
If you got a cell phone, it comes with the phone.
The media's awful in all of this. Oh, let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Almost put that up. Let's go ahead and block that dude. I don't know where these guys are coming from. To my lady. All right.
When the goons come in.
Right. You right. I'm excited. When it started, I was like, "Oh snap! We're getting trolled. It's going down to Legacy Town." All right. So we shut down. We're going to YouTube, Romello. You got to go. Because we're trying to build.
Romello.
All right, but before we go, don't leave me. I just got a quick ask. Brother Legacy is in the process of growing. I'm doing some amazing things, and we just need your financial support. But hold on. He said YouTube's what's that? All right, hold on 1 second. I appreciate you supporting the Brothers of Legacy broadcast. In this space, we are in the process of expanding. And what does that mean? We have developed a financial literacy course for children. We're connecting with schools. We've got other men involved in our local programs in our community. We are ever expanding. So now we are seeking your financial support. And what does that mean? That means we are trying to get money for administrative costs, marketing, and being able to grow exponentially. But we need you to help us with that financially. You've already helped us with us being part of the broadcast, helping us, those that are part of the community. They've helped tremendously. But now we need your financial support. So what I'm asking, if you click the link here, click that website. Go to the website. Check out the Brothers of Legacy. It gives you an understanding of what we're doing, as well as gives you a chance to contribute financially. You have several ways. You can go through PayPal. You can go through Cash App. Also, you can give monthly. You can give one time. However you see or feel like you should contribute into this movement. This is an opportunity for you to contribute to legacy. We are changing the narrative. So this is your opportunity to be a part of that legacy. Our legacy is about the building blocks we start today. Our legacy is about the building blocks we start today. So we appreciate you. We thank you. And I thank you for all the supporters that's already given. And for those that desire to give, this is your opportunity. And I'm thanking you in advance. As always, I'm excited. I'm excited for the growth. We've been at this a year and some change now. And change is going to happen. And I want you to be a part of it. So hit that link and be a part of that change. Boom! I got the timing right. All right.
Man, that looked like a goodbye. That was a straight goodbye. Did anybody join us? Is anybody over here?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Dumbing it down with Dave is in the building, and Dave said something interesting. He said we need to bring in more than us two. I know. We're working on it.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think that there are more people who are engaged. They're just not engaged publicly.
Right.
There are a lot of people who feel the same way, but they won't express it for fear of the impact to them within their own communities.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be seen partaking in this conversation publicly, and I think that, and I applaud you. I appreciate it and everything. I think that silence is as bad as the people committing the crimes against humanity, against our society. That's just the truth. So I applaud anybody that's willing to step up to the plate, open their mouth, and be a part of the conversation, because that's how we get better. But what I say to people is this: it's easy to have the conversation with us.
Right.
My question is, are you willing to have the conversation in your community? Will you take these words back to the places where you don't see us, but you only see people who look like you and have the same dialogue? That's real, you know, because if things are going to change, you know, white people have to talk to white people.
Right.
White people have to check white people, because black folks can't check white people.
Right.
Same way, you know, society tells us, well, what about blacks killing blacks? Everyone keeps telling us to check our people.
Right.
You know,
Right.
If we want to affect change as it relates to racial relations and social injustices, knowing that the people that are pushing the most that are triggering or instituting the most damage are white, are non-black.
Right.
They need to talk to each other,
right,
and say this is unacceptable,
right.
And so that's my position. So I would challenge you in that regard, which I challenge all my white friends the same way.
Right. Don't
talk to me. Go talk to your cousin Jethro.
Right.
Sorry if that was a stereotype.
Yes, I agree. This show is inspiring to do a different version. Okay, awesome, man. Appreciate that. That's encouraging. That's encouraging.
I like his name.
Dumb it down with it. Making it easy. Oh, so yeah. So we're kind of shifted a little bit, but I love it because these are the trigger words, the words that can help start a conversation, get your mind in the right place, get you to see things a little different. Sorry, someone was pulling up in front of the house. just making sure. So let's see. Do I have any other? Boom, boom, boom. So, what do you look at? What do you see when you hear the word wealthy? Wealthy.
Wealthy, actually, to me, is actually different. Like you said, poverty is more of my mindset. Wealthy is more of a mindset to me as well.
Okay.
Because for I know for the younger generation, they look at it as what you actually see.
Right.
To me, is what you don't see. Because you can shake a millionaire's hand and not know it. Just because they were shopping at the same place you were shopping at and dressed the same way you dressed and don't even know it.
Right.
Like for instance, the guy who owned Chick-fil-A, what was his name? Kathy, whatever his name.
Truly, something. Yeah.
Kathy.
Yeah, if you've seen him, from what I've been told, he'd be just in regular jeans and a regular T-shirt.
Right.
Don't always have to be in a suit, tie, So it's not basically, to me, it can be the mindset as well.
Right.
I admit I've been cocky at times, but I've been better lately as I'm getting older. Yeah, man. Listen, I like I said, man, I don't take anything away from it. I applaud you. I think for everyone, we all have to get better. Yeah, everybody has to get better. We just need to be better than we were yesterday, and that's all anyone could ask of anybody else. Be better today than you were yesterday. When you know better, you do better. It's really just that simple. But hey, man, we are the human race. That's real.
No doubt.
So thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate you, Dave. So yeah, like it's funny how that's real, Rollins. I think the older you get, you realize that. When you're younger, you think the flash, the bling shows, that you are wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as you get older, you realize that the dude next door has significantly more than you can imagine. He just doesn't flash it. He or she just doesn't flash it. They just regular people, regular lives, investing and reinvesting in places and just use their money wisely. And live modestly. Because I think even what's his name? Warren Buffett, same thing. Regular dude, old car. Well, I think is it a caddy or something he has? Who's it? Zuckerberg, always jeans and t-shirt. Like you wouldn't even know. These guys just wear regular clothes and just look average. But they don't represent the flash that we've always been accustomed to seeing when it comes to those that become millionaires, so I and it's crazy that persona is not pushed as much, you think about it, but you always, those that like in entertainment and things of that nature, they're always flashing. And like Chris Rock, there's a difference between rich and wealthy, and it seemed like the rich always a flash, and the wealthy are just like, yeah, I got it. I'm good. I can buy this whole town if you get on my nerves enough, So, I can, so it's they're the most modest, in their look, in their life, and things of that nature, and purposely probably just so they're not a target. They can kind of walk the streets, because if you walk by Mark Zuckerberg, you're like, was that Mark Zuckerberg? Like, is that him? Like he, like other than a star, you can see from like, oh, that's Denzel, but somebody like him, you just like Mark, that looked like him, Oh, so I think wealth, the look of wealth has definitely changed. You said rich versus hood rich. Oh man. Oh man, the bins with the spinners and the projects. Yeah. Oh, he said Mark Wilburn made $67 million in the airport last year in 3 days. A week he's walking through the airport in Walmart khakis and white bottom shoe button up. Right. No one knows him, but he's one of the richest people. Right. Right. I think I should be like the aspiration. I
would also say a lot of times the wealth people are not really worried about you knowing that they got it.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
You might see a building, but their name ain't on it, but they was part of the foundation of it. you know.
Right. Exactly. And the funny thing is the people that matter, they the ones know who you are. Like the ones, like they know who you are, the ones that are looking to invest, that need, that are the builders and the creators, they know who you are. So with that being said, it is 10 o'clock and I appreciate you guys rocking with us, hanging with us. We've had an awesome Freestyle Friday. Most of my peeps is out handling business today, but we held it down. My brother Deacon Rollins in the building, Pastor Brian Corey down at the bottom. You know how we do. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being part. And we I don't take it for granted that folks are hanging with us this whole show. I definitely appreciate it. And thank you for contributing to being part of the conversation. Dave and Jeff Roney, I appreciate you guys sharing and being transparent, about what's going on. We definitely need to continue to have this conversation. All my peeps coming through. I thank you, like Lisa. Thank you for always being here, and Deborah being the first on top. Appreciate you guys. So, as always, as we like to close out, anybody had anything to share before we leave?
Great conversation.
Yes, sure. Definitely. All right. So, as always, know that God, Brothers of Legacy loves you, but God loves you more. Take care. We will see you maybe Monday. It's Labor Day, so we'll see what goes down. You know what? I don't know about y'all, but I'm lost with these holidays. I'm lost with these holidays. They're just kind of like sneaking up on me now.
I'll be on the golf course.
Okay. All right, guys. Take care.